All right. So, discussion item number 2 here. Our releases were done on this Monday. You can find those the release notes on the IMS page. They may not show up right now. I don't remember if we actually put those out, so I will make a note to put those out today. The third item is the current items that we're working on for this month. I'll let you guys look at those at your leisure. And that will bring us into our current discussions. Topic A, both for 1 and 2, these are basically just placeholders. We're continuing to work on the on-site forms for the mobile piece for the My Apps, and that is still ongoing. And I believe we're still scheduled for the January 5th, 2020 release for that. Everything seems to be looking good.
Trevor, will the release for that be with the current forms, not the forms we're working on, correct?
Yes. Yeah, and at the end of this, when we get into the on-site part, John and I had a conversation yesterday that we'll bring up today with that. So going for B here, topic B, the public portal, we are still in basically the back end stages of the development, meaning that we're putting the security in place. We're actively working on it. We've got some ideas from some people, but if you guys have any ideas that you want to see in the public portal, aside from just online payments and stuff like that, feel free to send that to John, me, and we'll discuss it with the team and see how we can integrate that inside of it. The next one. All right, so C, the Iroquois, the P, PF, and C. We have discussed this internally several different times. We do have a work order for it. We've started a little bit of development. So this is the ability to add another comment to a violation, whether it may have a violation that has a P or a PF or a C or all three. So we originally had all of this stuff right here. And then it was proposed, Tom, one of our senior developers, proposed putting a button like this. We were talking about it yesterday, and he actually changed it. I've got a little screenshot of what he's looking at here. So once you enter a violation, he's proposing having these two buttons right here. Basically, you have a save and create duplicate violation comment, or if you have one that's in there that you don't want, you can delete it. So this is the direction we're going as far as the P, PF, and C, adding additional comments for that, for a violation. Just want to give you guys a quick screenshot of that.
That would allow us to create multiple comments per violation number.
Correct. It's almost like a save and new. So you enter one comment, you hit save and create a duplicate, and then you can edit it, do whatever you want to do.
When you create the duplicate, it'll allow you to change a new P, PF, or C?
Correct. You would just, where it says the violation comments right up in here, it would create the one that you had before, but you can amend it, just like do an edit.
Well, look at it this way. It'll be, so you mark one as out of compliance and you go to this page, and currently you fill in the violation comment, you select one of the predefined comments, and it has P, PF, or C checked. When you do the save and create duplicate, it's going to save that off as an entry by itself. Then it's going to give you this same screen again where you would do the exact same thing, but it's going to create a second violation. Basically, almost look at them like occurrences, I guess. That might not be a good word, but you would create a second independent violation record for that line item for the same line item on the first page, and you could do 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, however many you need.
And then that won't affect the count at the top, right, for the risk factor number and the repeats?
Right, because that number is based on page 1, the ones that are marked out of compliance.
Okay.
Okay. Minimize that. So that's just kind of a look at what the direction we're going with that one. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update on it. The next one, this is adding a new flag for number of days for the first routine after opening license inspection. We had that to groom last month, but we set this as a priority too, so we never really got around to it. I did add it to the discussion items for this Monday coming up. Hopefully we can get that pushed out by the end of this month.
Trevor, that you were talking about the alert flags, right?
Yes. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This one right here.
Okay, I jumped ahead. Never mind.
For the alert flags, this is one that we were discussing internally also. We did not get around to it on this planning date right here. It was on our agenda, but our planning session went hours, so we didn't get a chance to address it. John, do you want me to put it on for this planning coming up on Monday, or do we want to?
Yeah, definitely for
Okay.
because and have it stay on our list
Okay.
of discussion items until it's resolved. My question on this one would be to anybody: is there any place where you would not want to see that alert come up? Because basically, what we were considering doing was, when you have an alert within the effective dates that you put on those alerts, that anytime you access that establishment record in any way, that you're first going to get a little pop-up box that says, hey, this guy has a dog that bites or whatever. And probably what we'll do is also we'll put that as a configurable option by county. So if you're not really using the alerts too much, or you don't need those auto pop-ups, we'll put a switch on that will allow each county just to turn that off.
And the pop-ups will actually come up on front of what you open and not hide behind it?
Correct.
All right. I made a note to add that to discussion on Monday. All right. So the next one, Winnebago, is anyone interested in having the inspection forms printed in a different language? We did discuss that internally. As far as the My Apps version of that, there are some questions, technological questions that we would have to address with that. I think if we were going to do anything with this, we would wait till after the on-site forms were released before we can even address this. Does that sound about right, John?
Sorry, I was on mute.
I was just about to say.
Which one now? The
F, the one where it has, it was brought
yeah.
up about the different languages for the different forms, and we did discuss that internally a little bit. Tom had mentioned he was a little concerned about some of the technology, as far as how things would print. So we would just have to research that a little bit further. But I think the on-site forms should probably come first before we looked into that.
Yeah, see, that's much easier to do when you have hard-coded, say, forms. Like we've done this for, I think, on some of the ones that you use for printing only. I don't know if the Illinois version has it, but in North Carolina, they have they'll print out the signs that say employees must wash hands before returning to work so that they can post them, and they'll have those in multiple languages. Those ones that have, fixed wordings, but when you're talking about an inspection form where, we might possibly have to try to interpret lengthy comments or something, it makes it difficult to adjust then the printable form for that.
Right.
So that's that's why we have to research that. Because they're not just standard PDFs in the new version of mobile.
I have a question, and I don't know that you guys can tell the answer to this, but maybe someone else on the call can. If I print the form in an alternate language, then do I have to store the form in that language because it's a legal document?
Good question.
Is Lisa on the call? I don't see Lisa's name in the list. Well, that's a really good question. So, Trevor, forward that question on to Lisa
Okay.
Winnebago. See if they've addressed that. And two, we probably ought to speak with Tom about that to see if we do translate that for a printable form. Wonder how Tom was interpreting that. Tom Bunk, our developer. We'll have to talk to him about that. It's a good point. So yeah, nothing obviously will happen for a while on this yet, but we'll have to get that clarified. So yeah, leave this on the agenda.
Okay. So the clarifications you want is, does it have to be saved in both languages or just the different language?
Yeah. How would they want it stored? What version of that would they want uploaded with the data?
Gotcha. Okay. Note made. The next one, item G, is there was an issue with report 28 not totaling the numbers correctly. I sent out a poll last month, and pretty much everybody said, yeah, go ahead and change it. So yesterday we created a work item, 131917, as you can see here, and we will go ahead and groom that on Monday and try to get that in at the end of the month here. Didn't seem like a very difficult change. All right, so that is the end of the food and lodging side. Does anyone have any questions or comments or anything they want to bring up?
I guess this is Angie with McLean County. I think Tom has been speaking with John about a different method to run certified manager reports, and he was just kind of wondering what the status of that was, if it was a possibility. I hope John knows what I'm talking about because I'm not too familiar with it.
I know exactly what you're talking about because I talked to Tom down at EHA the other day. I just emailed Tom a copy of the report about 12 minutes ago.
Okay, perfect.
What we have in Splash right now is a report, and I also shared the report with Tom. So Angie, does he have the only Splash account, or do you guys have a second one?
I believe we have a second one. I think Linda has one too.
Linda, should I share it with her as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so Tom can go in and run it, and basically what it'll do is it identifies all establishments. You can pick what risk you want to run it for. And I know Tom said he was only concerned with the medium and high risk, so that's what I sent him. But you have it's going to give you a drop down that says risk, and it's optional. If you leave it blank, it'll show you every establishment, even the low risk ones. If you don't want those low risks, just go in and you can select more than one, so you can select both high and medium on the same report. But so he should have a copy of the Excel report now, and also the Splash report's been shared with him.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
John, that's not something I need to bring up on here, is it? Is that just for them specifically?
No, it's available for anybody who wants it.
Okay.
If anybody wants that copy of that report, let me know and I can share that with them.
Okay, great. Anyone else? All right. So So that will conclude the food and lodging side. We're going to get into the on-site piece, but like I was saying earlier, John and I were discussing this yesterday regarding all of these forms and things like that, and he wanted to go ahead and discuss this with you guys. Go ahead, John.
Okay, so the reason I wanted to talk about this was because I said we were going to create some screenshots and show you. And as I started to do those, what I realized is that about the only thing it can do at this point is just take the same information that's on the screen, and we can hide certain things and stuff. And I'm not sure that's going to accomplish too much. So I just backed off of that for now. With the struggle that we've had to get this going, and I think I've mentioned this before, and I told the North Carolina users the same thing. I told them that the exact same issue going on with the Illinois users, where you guys want to get together and revise on-site septic wells. So what I told the North Carolina users, what I'd like to do is start over from scratch, because it's dragged on. We haven't really gotten very far with it. I think we would, just take a quick look at, and I would do this in a separate call. Let's take a look at the workflow, exactly what happens. Maybe just to make sure, say Trevor and I, and then so we can explain it back to our development team, what truly happens. I think we understand based on the years that we've had this stuff out there for you guys, but I think it's going to be really important that we all get on the same page with this, that this not only has the right elements on each page that each county needs, but we got to make sure this thing flows better. So maybe we can eliminate some of the drill down stuff, and we can eliminate any duplicate entry where information that maybe goes on one form can be carried over to the other form, particularly when you get into like the surveys, the well inspections or the construction surveys. So what I'm proposing is we do this. We just discuss, again, briefly, workflow. What happens from the time somebody submits an application to either have a new system installed or a system repaired, and even, well abandonments. Just outline that. And then from there, let's take each piece of that workflow and see what's exactly needed on there. And because I think in the past when we first did this, we were more concerned about these forms that we got, which I believe are state forms, aren't they? Like the construction log and the septic surveys and stuff. Those are state forms. But it seems to me that even though they're state forms, a lot of you don't. It seems, I think everybody agrees actually, that you don't have to follow that form exactly to a T. It's not a requirement. Is that true?
I think
John, some of those are state forms, some of them are not. None of them are mandated that we have to use them 100%
Okay.
like they are.
Okay, so we do have some. We can take some liberties with those forms and get them to do what they need to do. And I had this, I think I talked to Carrie about this, is what we need to identify, and this is where you guys got to give us a lot of input, is instead of just hiding panels, and let me see if I can show you an example, what I'm talking about. And I may have showed you guys this example before.
I'll make you an organizer, John, just
yeah, I'm going to get logged in here first. Show. Trevor, North Carolina, was that on the application or was that on one of the surveys? Do you remember?
I believe it was on the
construction authorization.
That is, yeah, the CA, the IP, and then the CA.
All right, let me see if I can find one real quick. And to me, I mean, it helped a little bit, but I don't think it came anywhere near what they were looking to accomplish.
No, actually,
yeah,
I think that was
that has part of what I'm looking for.
It might be the OP then. That had a lot of data on it.
Yeah, here. Okay, so this is the page I'm looking for. So I'll share my screen. Did you make me a presenter?
Yep.
Where's desktop? Here.
It's next to the microphone.
All right, so are you guys seeing this North Carolina ad operation permit page?
Yes.
Okay. So what we did was we just collapsed all these panels, because what they said initially was, yeah, that'll help a little bit, because this information here is something that they all fill in. Once you get past that, the contractor and the comments, pretty much after that, this stuff here is all dependent upon the system, and the systems vary greatly from county to county, just like they do in Illinois, which is, see, so a lot of the same problems are happening here. But instead of just having this big mass of blue panels that are hidden and, you know, so you can open up this one, you know, we might be able to incorporate some of that, or, I mean, we can, for sure, I shouldn't say might, but I'm just going to make up an example. Say you had some fields here, distribution type, and say pre-treatment was really determined based on distribution type. So instead of seeing this second drop down here with, you know, this list of values, you know, you would select this, and then pre-treatment would populate with only ones that apply to a drip distribution. So things like that, I think we could really condense the page down without having to have all these panels and separate sections and stuff. So I think if we just start over from the beginning, take each part of the workflow process, what has to happen, and then we can get into the details, each one of those. We can actually start, you know, making some headway on this. Now, that's just my suggestion. If you guys disagree, we can take the approaches. I can take what's out there and create those screenshots, show you, you know, stuff like this, how the pages would look if we went this type of route, and take it from there.
John, we also
I go ahead, Trevor.
I was going to say we also discussed briefly instead of these collapsible sections right there, putting it into a tab format, kind of like we do like an individual record, and then you have the expand button to the left side. If you think of it like the go back to the let's say go to the complaints section.
All right. I'm going to save. Let me save that in a browser page. Where do you want me to go to complaints?
Yeah, I or actually, you might.
Are you talking about on the Illinois system or for North Carolina?
Right there. Hit the expand button on that property.
Oh, you just want to see that? Okay.
Yeah, like a tab section right across the top there. You know, instead of having those different sections that collapse and whatever, you can push everything into like a tab mode.
Well, we'll have to talk with the developers about that, because see, now these go to different database. It changes your database structure then. So you're talking about, so here, if you have an operation permit, instead of having all these collapsed sections, each one of these then would become a tab, but you're talking about tabs showing data information on a specific record. You know, in other words, if all this information was contained on this property record, that's what you're talking about. So we'd have to see if we can do that. My hunch, I'm probably about like 80% sure that we could do that. So that would be something else that we could consider. So then what you'd have here is, let's see if I go into, Carrie, I know you always use Peoria. Hope you don't mind. I'm going to use you guys again.
Okay.
All right. Actually, you know what? Let me get out of here. I'm going to sign on to Peoria, but on a different server. I may have to create a record. Okay, so just to make sure everybody understands where Trevor's going with this, so what you would see would be primary treatment, class 1 system, distance, secondary treatment. Each one of those would show up as a tab here. So you could just go, and then you could have pretty much, we might be able to put all the information editable right there on in one row, depending on how much information is there. Does that help at all? So you don't have to keep going away from page after page. That would make the data entry probably a little bit easier. I mean, what we can do is we could create screenshots both with collapsed panels and with the tab options, send them out, get everybody's opinion, and then we can go from there talking about, like I said, what actual data elements do we have to change and what dependencies can we build into the system so that, based on a system type, okay, now I have to have this, versus, system type A has these requirements, system type B has this set of requirements. Then we could do something like that. So I'm open to suggestions, however you guys want to go about doing this, we can. I was just offering my opinion based on the fact that we've tried talking about it several times and we haven't really gotten very far.
So, John, this would be the front end that would eventually help for the inspection end to not have information on it that didn't apply to that system?
Well, yeah, that's really the ultimate goal, isn't it? To get to where, the approvals, the inspections and everything have just the information that's needed. There seems to be a lot of extraneous information. At least that's what I was getting out of a lot of the discussions.
Yes. And then when they actually pull open an inspection, then that information would be pre-populated, but editable, yep. You know
Edible.
what I'm trying to...
In other words, you can eat it. Yes.
Yes. And not eat it.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, we want to do as much pre-populating as possible, but I wouldn't think in any case would we lock those fields. I think you'd always want to be able to edit them as needed.
And it would have the flexibility. Let's say if we had, I'm going to be crazy, 7 tanks, we could put in information about 7 different tanks.
Yeah, see, now those are the kind of things that those real quick. Okay, for those 7 different tanks, are you talking about 7 different septic tanks?
Or a combination of a septic tank, aerobic unit.
Okay, yeah, see, those are all the different, just, I would imagine, I'm not going to imagine anything. You're going to need to explain it to me because I don't know how any of that works. So you're saying there could be multiple septic tanks. Some of them could be a combination of that and an aerobic treatment. Yeah, so we'll have to identify what information's needed, and then we can figure out the best way to put it on there so to minimize the amount of page navigation you guys have to do, and we'll try to figure out how to make it as efficient as possible. But I think we're just going to have to start from, like I said, from the beginning and just go step by step through the process, make sure everything's there.
Would it be beneficial if we sent some sample applications, some that
Yes,
are basic
very.
and normal and some that are I guess, an extreme. And I know we can't account for every oddity that we may come across. And that's
No,
why,
but it'll give us a good idea.
yeah.
At least it'll give us a really good starting point. Now, obviously, we're going to try to want to incorporate as much as what we have in place already and just add to it. You know, because you don't want to destroy the integrity of the data that's already been entered to this point, because there's going to be a lot of it out there. So anything we change to this, we need to do as an addition. Well, any data modifications need to be done as additions to what's there. As far as the pages go, you know, let's get those to be where they need to be. So the information that you have to enter is there, visible. Everybody sees it right away. All the other stuff either becomes, you know, an option for you to click on a checkbox and you'll get an extra set of fields, or, like I said, you know, maybe one drop down triggers what shows up in what other fields show up. Those type of things. So, I mean, if everybody agrees to that, we can, you know, pick a date. We'll set up a call and to start with. And I think they should be separate from this, because these change control board calls, we try to cover a really wide range of topics. And I think when we get into this, we need to have some dedicated time for just this. Otherwise, we're going to continue to go at a snail's pace.
I agree.
I'm fine with it.
Is anybody not okay with that approach? Okay. All right. So, Trevor, after this call, you and I will talk about some possibilities for dates to get that scheduled.
All right.
And we'll send out two or three dates, and everybody can send the preference, and we'll have to just go with the majority. So.
All right, so I'm just going to pull off the OSW part out of this, the agenda, just create a separate agenda? Or do you want to just keep it all in one and just focus on the OSW part?
Oh, I would just keep it one document.
All right.
Well, because on the document itself, you can note the date and the time that we met on each of those. So.
All right, so I can probably just wipe out what we have for the on-site part of it and just start over, you know, where we're going to go.
Wouldn't wipe it out. Always leave it there. I always like leaving stuff for reference, but yeah, we'll
okay.
And prior to each call that we have, Trevor, you and I should come up with a very specific agenda of things to talk about. So that we could just kind of, let's get a plan and stay on a plan.
All right. Did anyone else have anything to add to this part of it? I noticed that Lisa hopped in on the meeting and there was a question for her on the food and lodging side.
Oh, was that the one on the interest for other languages for reports?
Yeah, Will came up with a very good question. Basically, is it legal to, well, I'm going to let you talk. The legalese of the actual forms themselves being in a specific language is what he was concerned.
So I was asking a question, more curiosity than anything. If you are going to print and provide the report, which is your more or less legal document that you give them for the inspection in an alternate language, do you have to then have it saved in that alternate language later because it's a legal document for it?
Oh, what I would do with that is take the we give them both reports, the English and the translation, and then I just upload the translation into an attachment to the file. Right now we have to type them into Word separately, just as violations, and get an interpretation, and then send that separately.
So essentially, John and Trevor, it sounds like, yes, we would need it to be able to also save whatever it's translated and printed into.
All right. All right, I noted that. Okay. John, are you still the presenter? No.
Nah, yeah, I give it back to you.
Okay. Okay. All right. It looks like we've covered both food and lodging and on-site. Does anyone have anything else that they want to bring up on either side? I'll take that as a no. All right. We'll go ahead and stop the recording. And thank you for attending. We'll get back to you guys with some dates as far as the on-site discussions. All right. Thanks, everyone.